and it's okay that elves are black. But can we just say that out loud, please?
Harumph, harumph. How dare
Because
you?
they're elves and they're imaginary creatures. Damn it, we got to be racist in our imagination as well.
Don't get me started
Right,
on that
exactly.
mermaid.
That's right.
Hey, Indigo made the beat.
Greetings, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Heroes Peak podcast. I am your host, Chris, and we are here to talk about culture, movies, TV shows, whatever the hell we feel like. And with me to talk Tolkien today, I have two awesome guests, hosts, I don't know, whatever you want to call them. It's Keith and Mike. How you guys doing?
Pretty good. I just wish somebody would tell my back that.
You're gonna do some tough.
Yeah, you gotta. I got plenty of back aid stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand, man. So before we get going, I'm gonna ask you guys a question, and that's your Tolkien familiarity. So a lot of the discussion I've seen online about this show is a lot of lore writing, and that's just not an expertise I have. For as much of a geek as I am, like I've read The Hobbit. I've started to read The Lord of the Rings, but I'm not a big fan of Tolkien's writing style. I do have it on audiobook. I haven't quite finished. I have not read any of the extended materials. I've, of course, watched the movies. Probably the best trilogy of all time, in my opinion. And then there's The Hobbit, which I watched, which was not that good. So, as for you guys, what is your familiarity with this material before we get into the show? I'm going to let Keith go first.
I'm pretty familiar. Like high school. I read the Lord of the Rings. The Hobbit was. I did the Hobbit. I think in junior high school. Like I definitely. I wouldn't even say like I was all Tolkiened out. Those were pretty much the two books that I had down pat. Like the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings 1,000-page 1,000-page soft cover. But the so yeah, so I like I knew what the movie was missing, even like the things that they didn't go over in the movies that were in the books on in Lord of the Rings and all of that. So yeah, I'm pretty conversant.
Wait, stop.
Mm-hmm.
Stop. Hang on. Okay, so I'm going to defer to you guys as the experts here because my only Lord of the Rings stuff is basically the movies that came out with Peter Jackson. Like, I had really had no interest in Lord of the Rings growing up, right? Like, I knew what it was. I knew about it, but I figured, Peter Jackson was making these movies. I'll check it out. But you telling me in those 9 hours worth of movies, there's stuff in the books that he didn't get to put on film?
He changed.
He
changed quite a bit.
Changed a lot.
He combined characters.
Oh, okay.
And the character of
and the same
Gandalf,
thing with the Hobbit, right? Is the Hobbit? Yeah, the Hobbit's like this short little book, right? And he turned it into like 3 movies.
Which was unnecessary. That was unnecessary for the Hobbit. Like that, I didn't really like that. The Hobbit was even if you look at the book of itself, like the Hobbit is like, how do you squeeze 3 movies out of that thin book? Like that was a money grab. That was a money grab. It was unnecessary. They could have did the whole Hobbit in 1 movie, and it didn't even need to be 3 hours.
Right.
I just watched a video today about.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just watched a video today about part of the making of The Hobbit. In that it was about Guillermo del Toro trying to make the Hobbit movie in his vision, and he had I believe they said a 2-story or a 2-movie story idea, and that due to business shit behind the scenes, due to mergers and money issues, that basically his all like 3 years worth of work just completely fell through, collapsed,
That sucks.
and that Peter Jackson picked it up. I don't know why. Completely rewrote it. I don't know why they didn't pick up the script they had been working on for 4 years, but whatever. Probably a money issue, ownership, whatever.
Yeah.
And then made it. But then I remember when they first announced it, they were like, "We're going to make 2 movies." And then like a year later, they're like, "No, we're going to make 3 movies." And I went, "Wait, what? You can't make 3 movies out of that book."
Yeah, there's not enough content. There's
Yeah.
Dude, that's like an extended poem of a book. That thing is not
It was really a long poem.
like, I don't know how long you want just to watch a bunch of dwarves walking through the woods. Just like, yeah, it was pretty crazy choice. So, all right, so we're going to be talking about Rings of Power, which is obviously the new Amazon show, 8 episodes, $1 billion like just money drop. Apparently, Bezos was looking for something to compete with Game of Thrones. He wanted something big and bold, and they managed to get their hands on Tolkien stuff. The only issue is that they couldn't get all of it. They have the rights apparently to. Oh, looks like we dropped Keith a little bit. The problem is that they couldn't get the rights to the whole thing. They got the rights to Lord of the Rings and to some ancillary appendices. Appendices, is that a word? Appendices.
Yeah, something like
I'm
that.
saying that wrong.
Appendices, yeah.
Yeah. But not this. But not the similar. Oh man, I'm gonna kill a lot of names here, and they're all fantasy white people names, so it's okay.
so it's
Oh, I
do it
think
this
you're talking
time.
about the actual. Wait, are you talking about the
Yeah.
actual cast or the character names, or both?
No, I was about to say a book name. That's a Cimmerillion.
Cimmerillion, yeah.
Jesus Christ. So yeah, they do not have access to that rights wise. So for all the lore writers, by the way, there's a reason why not everything you're seeing is 100% from the history, and they don't have necessarily access to everything. All
How's
the
that
names
work
and
though?
stuff.
Like, why would you? How do you not have access to it? I don't get it.
Because they don't have the rights. I don't know why. I don't know what
It's
the
just
estate
weird, right?
is doing.
It's
It
like
is very weird, especially
it's like somebody trying to do a Star Wars spin-off and Lucas says you can only have access to Return of the Jedi. Nothing, no references to Empire or New Hope. So no Obi-Wan.
right.
Something
So
like
you
that.
only get.
But think about
So
the
you-
Marvel
so-
universe, though. Like, all of the characters haven't been licensed out.
Yeah, that's true.
true.
That's true. Yeah.
And like
They couldn't say mutants for the longest time.
Yeah.
yeah, they can say certain names. Like, I thought that was particularly stupid, but
Mhm.
like it's the same stupidness
Yeah.
that ruins creativity.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it is. I know. So I we're just gonna look at this mostly from a just we're gonna look at this show. We're not gonna sit there and go back and huddle through the books and say, but on page 148 of the appendices, they said she had pale skin. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, we're gonna look at this show as a show, as entertainment, and within a universe of its own.
And
I think
and
that's
to
where we
that,
wanna
Chris,
go.
I'm going to say thank God, because while my nerd level may be high, I would be like, yo, I'm out. This is just too much nerd for me tonight.
I'm just over now.
That's what she said.
Now you quote in paragraph 7, page 42.
Right. All right. So let's get into this. And so Rings of Power, 8 episodes, and definitely classic high fantasy. Right now, competing with a secondary large budget fantasy show over on HBO Max. So we may reference House of Dragon or whatnot here and there, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time comparing the two because they're totally very different to me,
Right. Oh,
and
for sure.
they're fun. They're fun to talk about together, but I don't think they're real comparative in just in the sense it's hard to compare like a they're both dramas, I guess. I don't know. To me, they feel different enough.
It's like
Anyway,
DC versus Marvel Universe, right? It's
Yeah,
like
they're
it's
similar.
a totally different world. So
They're similar, different products.
yeah, right.
okay.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
You've heard of this. You've seen this, right? You know what that is.
It is unavoidable. It is your destiny.
Is this not why you are here?
Do or do not. There is no try.
Knock that shit off.
So, so this story seems to be called the Ring of Power. Rings of Power is we're mostly going to follow Galadriel, the elf. She's not a princess or anything like that, queen or
She's
anything
like a
like
warrior,
that, right?
like elf.
Well,
She's like a warrior,
Yeah.
Now she
like the
just like she's just like the leader of that expedition, of like who had the charge to go and make sure that the evil was gone or whatever.
and we're basically following this world in a lull after a giant battle, a fight for good and evil. The good won, and everybody else in the world is trying to get back to normal. But Galadriel has this like, she's sure there's more out there, and nobody wants to believe her. Everybody wants to ignore her, but and she's just bang on. She won't listen. So that's really like the bulk of this show is about Galadriel banging her drum, and the whether or not the evil will rise when nobody else is looking. It's actually really interesting in the current political climate watching this and me going, this is a lot more political than I think people are giving it credit for.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting, Justin.
So first thing I want to talk about, before we get into anything else, is the visuals, because this shit blew me away. Now, I want to ask you guys first, what did you think watching these episodes? We're on episode 4. I've watched 4 episodes. I believe you guys have probably watched 4 episodes.
Yes.
Did the visuals strike you like they struck me? Because I've been banging on this on our chatter for a while.
If I may, immediately, what appealed to me was that it came up exactly like the Lord of the Rings movies, like the texture of it, the bigness of it. They didn't lose any of that feeling in the translation of it to a TV show. I love that part. Like, so it doesn't look so much as I'm watching an episodic TV show as I am watching an episodic movie experience. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
I appreciate that. That's number one. So so to me, I love the visuals, but what I love about it is that it's really at the level. The visuals are not, I wouldn't say that they're better than, they're at the level of the cinematic experience. And that to me is a huge, that's probably the hugest plus that drew me in immediately.
Yeah, and with high fantasy, that can mean a lot.
It makes
Yeah,
a
so
difference.
for me, it definitely caught my eye. Like from episode 1, the visuals, just like out of the gate, you could see they spent a lot of money on this. They took their time. They did quality. So, yeah, and you're right, Keith. It transitions from those films like to this world that kind of looks the same. It's obviously not, the same what vision Peter Jackson was going with, but you could step into this and you're familiar. You know what I mean? Because of the way it looks. Comparing the two, like, it's hard because this is made for small screen, and Peter Jackson was making his stuff for the big screen. So, like, if we took this and put it on a big screen in the theater, I think they did that, didn't they? Some people got to see this in the theater. I think.
Yeah,
episode
for like the
19.
first episode or the first 2 episodes in the
So it
theater,
would have been
which I would
nice
have
to
loved.
see, wonder how they
Mm.
watching it there and then maybe watching it again at home and seeing, does it lose something in the translation from, projector
Right.
to small screen? But I mean, I'm not going to knock the visuals and the sound, and the production quality is top notch so far.
Yeah, the details, the costumes, the
Mhm.
makeup, the structures, everything's beautiful.
Yeah.
But
Down to the cast.
for me, what it just shook me was the cinematography.
Mm.
And what it is for me, and I went back and I've watched the first episode like 4 times because I wanted to see what was I seeing that was just grabbing me.
Mhm.
And I think there's a sequence in the first episode that I think does everything for me, and I want to kind of go through that quick. And that is the initial sequence after the death of her brother, when Galadriel takes the knife, and immediately we go into this drone shot. And we've seen several drone shots in a bunch of movies we've talked about here on the show, like the Russo brothers action movie where the drone shot kind of gives you a sense that you're in Rome and it just kind of flies through Rome and you're in Rome, right? Those kind of drone shots. But I think amazing for this and what was getting me is the scale of everything. Is at the same time that things are large, there's also very tiny. So the drone shot comes in and the voiceover is talking about how Galadriel's running to the ends of the earth to find Sauron, and it sweeps by, and you see the team in boats on the lake or on an ocean, and then over snow-capped mountains, and then over a field, and it's these nice wide shots giving you a sense of this grand place that they are just going and going and going. And then there's this beautiful shot coming around the mountain to an ice cliff, and it's just this huge thing, and then it zooms all the way in, all the way in, all the way in, right to her face. So all of a sudden her face is this huge thing on the screen, and it's just this beautiful just grandeur all the way down to a awesome character shot of her, a dirty, frost covered, tired but determined face. And everything I wanted to know about the show is in that group of shots, and and everything about the cinematography and how they want you to feel about the world that it's in, and the characters and how they fit in the world and where you are in the world, the usage of the map and the flying camera. It just blew me away. Every episode, I love it.
Yeah, that's
So.
pretty spot on. No argument there. So.
All right. So I think how we want to talk about the story here, because it's a pretty big story. We're going to go.
And this is where you're going to get me a bit, because as not the non-expert on the panel tonight, like I have some issues, but we'll discuss. It's more about you wanted to bring a huge swath audience to this show, but let's discuss what the story is first, right? And then.
Well, and like I said at the beginning, this is basically Galadriel's story as much as anybody else, and we're gonna meet some other characters. But I think to organize it for our discussion, I want to talk about the different races we meet, and I think and some of the important characters within those races that will help us organize our discussion here a bit. So, like, we're gonna start with the elves, and I thought the elves were such interesting usage here, just because of how they're setting them up. So, in the Lord of the Rings, we follow hobbits and humans, and then we get an elf and a dwarf, and we hear them talk about, and we meet some others, but they're not central. So in this, the elf and the Harfoots are more central, I think, than the others.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really interesting. So let's talk about the elves. We'll talk about Galadriel and Elrond and whatnot. But what I thought was interesting was how the elf society worked. And we got to see more of that. We got to see them being aloof and classist, and almost this culture of willful ignorance about the rest of the world. I don't know if
Right.
you guys are seeing the same thing I am, but that's what I'm getting when I'm seeing these
Yeah,
men
I
in their
can see
story.
that. Like, yeah, like I said, as a person who's not so into the lore of it, you can see right
Mhm.
away that the elves seem to think they're better than everyone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even within their own race, they had these different levels. So,
Definitely hierarchy.
yeah, and a lot of politicking going on. So,
But that's always been a thing for the elves,
Right.
though. So like that's
mm,
and if you know like how elves come up in in most fantasy stuff, like that's pretty much their MO. Like that aloofness and kind of like above it all.
Top of the food chain people. The 1%ers.
Like, I get more
right.
of a high society vibe.
So, what did you guys think? So, let's talk about the main actress here, Galadriel, played by Morfydd Clark. I hope I did that right. And
Mhm.
she's got an interesting acting. Like, it's very subdued facially, and she does a lot with her teeth and chin more than like eyebrows. Like, just an interesting way she rarely scrunches or does big facial expressions. I just found that really interesting from an acting choice as their main character. But what did you think about Galadriel as a character? This warrior, this she kind of pissing everybody off around her. Like everybody she runs into, she pisses off, and I kind of love it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
What do you
she's
guys think of Galadriel here?
like she's like that annoying person that's right, but you kind of don't. It's so annoying that you don't want to. You don't want to fess up to them being right. You don't want them to know that you know that they're. She's just annoying, Like she's annoying, but like she's the kind of annoying that you need in this story because it's not like I'd be greatly annoyed if it was more than one of her. Like if
Mhm.
there was a few characters in this very annoying role of like
Right.
pushing forward the narrative, but it's just her. So it kind of like it makes her seem a lot more determined, even though that annoyance is there. But you know what that annoyance is. It's a familiar annoyance, and that annoyance is normally attributed to the person that is right, and you don't want to admit that they're right, but like that's what she is. That's the part she's playing right now. I am waiting for her to
Mhm.
shift more into like hero role because I know that's coming. This is just the annoying Paul Revere portion of it.
Right. Paul Revere.
Yeah, well said. Yeah.
The goblins are coming. The goblins are coming.
All right, Paul, go to bed. We get it.
Yeah, it's been the same thing 10 nights in a row. Paul, go to bed.
Mm.
Is this the night they're finally coming,
Okay,
Paul?
explain to me the whole thing about putting her on the boat. Like, were they trying to kill her?
No,
Oh,
and this is something I know they changed from the original, is
Okay,
that there's an elf heaven basically.
right.
Think of it as elf heaven,
Valhalla.
Yeah.
and once you go there, you're not allowed to leave.
So it's not
And
actually. So it's not actually death. It's just isolation. Like,
It's the same place. It's the same place where at the end of Lord of the Rings, that actually like Bilbo and
Mhm.
Frodo and Gandalf and all of those, like when they get on that boat to go, that's the same. It's the same place that they're heading.
yeah.
It's like the Happy Elf hunting grounds, the
Okay, I got you.
Valhalla for elves, and you don't
right, right.
necessarily dead.
So
Right.
why were they sending her there?
It's a
To
gift.
get her out of the way.
Yeah, just because she was annoying,
because
right?
no, because she's right.
Because
Yeah,
she's
no,
right.
okay.
Well, kind of two things. Yeah, and as the king of the elves said, sometimes something about the wind trying to blow out the flame, but actually making it bigger. I think as much as he was like, I would need her out of the way here politically because I don't need her riling everybody up. But also, like, I'm afraid she's going to make shit go down faster than I think it will. I think it'll kind of go out on its own. I just need her out of the way. And so
Yeah.
he gave her a prize, thinking, I got this covered. And, and you know, he did not understand how determined she really was.
All right.
Do they know? Do they?
So,
Yeah,
you know,
let's
They
move
know
on.
yet?
I don't want to spend too long on it. One character, right? So
Do they know yet that she jumped off the boat?
what?
Do the elves back home know
No,
she jumped?
I can't believe so.
So they don't even know. At episode 4, they're still assuming
I
that
don't
she.
know. She's stuck in that one human.
No,
she's
no,
in the human city
I-
right now.
To your point about
Yeah, the one leaf fell.
like right now they don't know that she didn't even that.
Yeah, the one leaf fell, and it was like all. Yeah. Yeah, that one leaf fell with all of the black veins in it, and the king was like, kind of weirded out by it. But other than that, he doesn't know shit. I think the other elf to talk about really is Elrond. So Robert Aramayo, playing Elrond. He is the same guy that was in Lord of the Rings, who was the leader of the elves there.
Oh, it was?
El-
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, so
nice.
Yeah. So at this point, he is just like the king's second man. He's like an artist. He wants to be an artist. He wants to be a builder. And so as a prize, because the king sort of used him to convince Galadriel to fuck off to heaven, that his prize was to go work with the ultimate artist builder of the elves. I don't know anything about this character. I should have looked up. I should have IMDb. Durin. Okay. So, he worked with the ultimate building elf guy, and then he's also friends with the dwarves, and that's how. So we'll get into the dwarves a little bit later. But Elrond's really important here, because he's kind of he's the political middleman to all of this, to Galadriel, to the king, to the dwarves, to the builder dude. Like, he's playing a really central role in this story.
Kind of the same position.
Right.
What do you guys think about this actor, his acting, his role?
I feel like he's playing the same position that the older Elrond is playing in Lord of the Rings. Like literally, like he was. Like,
that's a good point.
Like he's pulling together, like he's trying to pull the dwarves in, this, that, and the other. Like literally, he's that guy. Like he was the one who named them the Fellowship of the Ring. Like he organized that fellowship.
Yeah, that's a great point. I didn't even put it.
I like that how they
yeah.
they kept his
So
character
he
doing
is
the same thing. Like he's that guy. He's the connector. Power broker.
Mm-hmm. He's a politician. Power broker. There you go.
So
yeah, Mike, what
I was going to ask his relationship between what's her name, Galadriel, and the rest of them. Is he trying to bridge them together? Is that what it? Because does he believe her? He believes her, right?
He doesn't know that she's
about
alive.
Sauron.
He doesn't know that she's alive still. He doesn't know that she's not in heaven.
No, I know that, but when in the beginning, before that, though, was he believing her? It didn't seem like...
he doesn't believe her.
I think
he doesn't believe her. I don't think that any of them seriously believe what she believes. That that evil is really still out there and it hasn't been stamped out. They feel like her continuing search
Right.
is going to pull it back out.
Okay,
At least the king.
I got you.
That's
So
what the king-
okay, so he doesn't necessarily
That's what the
believe it.
king
Yeah,
felt.
yeah.
Yeah, I keep getting the feeling from the king that they're purposely ignoring
Yeah,
the
'cause he's a-
threats in hopes that shit will go
Because
away.
he's like a little bit of a pussy to me. Pardon my French, but like
Yeah.
she's
Yeah, not to put a too fine a political point on it, but this feels like the response to the initial response to COVID. Like,
Yeah.
look, everybody, everything's fine. It'll be okay.
like
Just
when it
listen
gets
to me. It'll
warm,
go
it'll
away.
get up,
Yeah.
You know,
the
here's
summer
some
will
paper
kill it.
towels.
It'll be fine. It'll be gone.
Yeah,
Here's some paper towels.
exactly what I was getting. All right, let's talk about some Harfoots, man. Look, I love me some hobbits. I think hobbits are the best thing. I think hobbits have the best life I've ever seen on film. Friggin' barefoot in the garden with a pipe and a rocking
know how to
chair or
live.
whatever. Like, give it to me. Shoot in my veins. They do know how to live. They got their pipe smoke. They got their parties, their drink. They're living it well. But before the hobbits, we have the Harfoots, and so these are the proto hobbits before they are the hobbits. They are more of a wandering group class. They haven't found a permanent home. They wander with the seasons.
So yeah, they reminded me
They're-
more of gypsies
Yeah.
than Peter Jackson hobbits, right? So there's a difference there somewhere.
It basically this is a couple thousand years before Lord of the Rings,
Okay.
so they
couple
have
hundred
not
years.
settled yet.
Not
Couple
1,000.
hundred. I thought it was a few
Elrond
okay.
isn't
All right,
1,000
so I'm
years
a little off. Okay.
And it's the same. And it's the same Elrond.
Okay.
All right.
No, I'm saying it's the same Elrond. This Elrond is the
Right.
same
Yeah.
Elrond, but he's not 1,000 years
Mhm.
old. Like he's not 1,000 years old in He's only like a
I
few
thought-
hundred years old.
I thought the fight for Sauron happened 1,000 years before the Lord of the Ring, or before the Lord of the Rings. The prologue
I know yeah,
with
because
the
Elrond
fight
was there
against
too.
Sauron, where they cut the ring off.
Because
His
Elrond
finger.
was there as well.
Yeah, but that happens after.
I thought it was
this.
500 years, but I'm gonna have to go back and check the timing.
Yeah, that would be a. I mean, it's hundreds of years. Whatever it is, it's hundreds. It's a
Very,
long
very
time.
long.
So what's these guys live in a culture of fear and isolation because they're not powerful. They don't have magic or battle tested. They're not big and huge. They call everybody regular humans giants. They have this weird, seemingly respectful culture with their little chants about nobody leaves the path, nobody walks alone. But there's an underlying weirdness to it that they're very willing to leave someone behind if they stray too far. And so I love that you got that sense of darkness within their culture that also seems all happy and bright and colorful and friendly.
Mm-hmm.
But there's this little bit of darkness in it. And I thought that was a great texture to the characters of that's normally just like these laid back, everybody loves them kind of culture. What did you guys think
But you
of the
said it
Harfoots?
already. Like fear.
Yeah, very entertaining.
Oh.
It was a good aspect to that. It brought that a little bit of levity to the episodes, like because you could tell there's a lot of shit's about to go down, and it was a nice cutaway to a little lighter side of the world. I like the characters that they're introducing. I like that they're curious about the world. They're curious about everything that's going on, especially when Mr. Man fell out of the sky there, you know. So I'm good. Yeah, bring me more of that for sure. Yeah, I like that stuff.
Mhm.
I think that
Keith.
fear that you were talking about, that fear that kind of drives them a little bit, or like is very evident in their actions. Like they're quicker to hide and run, or whatever in the face of danger. I think that's also what fuels their ability to leave behind stragglers. It's fear. Like you're not going to go back. Like
Mhm, mhm.
the fearful aren't
Oh
going to
yeah.
go backwards to try to rescue. Like you're going to have to keep up. So I think like that whole stay on the path, everyone stay together, you know, no one gets left behind, no one, yeah, everyone stay on the path. It's more so informative. Like this is how we got to operate. Like you veer from that
Mhm,
kind of thing. Our fear, which is
mhm.
actually creating this situation, is not going to allow us to go back for you or go find you. So stick to the path
Mhm.
and stay together. But I think that they're endearing. I think,
You're right. Yeah. Yeah. I
and I
loved.
like them for the same reason that I like the Hobbits. Like
Mhm.
they're unassuming characters, but in the back of my mind, I know that they're going to have a much more outsized role.
Yeah. I forget where I heard it, but basically someone said they're as hobbits and Harfoots are basically ignored, and people like of power like Sauron don't think of them as threats or important. So that's why like Gandalf uh, picking Frodo to carry the ring, it's kind of like the big and powerful just ignore them completely, and it allows them to kind of get a slight edge to use that against the enemy. Now, Markella Kavanaugh plays Nori, so she's our main Harfoot, doing a wonderful job. Probably my favorite actress on the show. Um,
Yeah, she's great.
she gets some great parts, especially her interactions with the stranger. Wonderful stuff. A lot of fun. A lot of good work. And speaking of, I think now's a good point to bring up the stranger, which is Daniel Wayman.
It's
Is
Gandalf,
playing
right?
an This is the
It's
question. So
obvious.
I feel it's probably Gandalf. I think it's too obviously Gandalf, but there's a looming question of who is Sauron, because apparently Sauron isn't necessarily walking around with giant spiky armor at this point. That he can be anybody, and that
That kid,
includes the
I don't
stranger.
know.
So
Okay.
it could be
I think that kid.
Halbrand. It
I
could
think that kid
be
who has the shard, the sword, the sword hilt, is Sauron, or is going to be Sauron.
yeah. And so I think this is the most fun question of the show is
Yeah.
watching all of these characters and going, so who's going to be the evil Dark Lord? So it's a fun little question that's just they're leaving open
But
right now.
I'm gonna say, if you read the,
So what did you think of the stranger stuff? He comes down. Sorry,
no,
go ahead.
I
Keith,
think
go
I'm gonna
ahead.
jump into what it is that you were just about to ask. But like, you see, if you guys notice, well, if you read the book, The Lord of the Rings, the things that was different about the actual book than the movie was that Gandalf was almost like Gandalf and Sauron were bigger figures in the book. They were almost spiritual figures. Like Gandalf was this force of good, and Sauron is this eternal force of the evil, whatever. Like it's an eternal struggle that they have eternal struggle. Like when Gandalf does the whole "you cannot pass, you shall not pass" and falls, and he's fighting the demon, this, that, and the other. That whole thing is supposed to be like an existential journey for Gandalf, and he comes back. When he comes back, like he's actually an elevated super like he's almost a godlike when he comes back. Like so texturally, the movie left out a lot of stuff that the book was. Like those characters were a lot bigger. So how he's being introduced now, like a celestial being coming out of the stars, falling into Earth, that's actually more in line with who they set him up to be in the actual book of the Lord of the Rings. So yeah, I think that the mystery character, that's how I know it's definitely Gandalf. It's Gandalf.
Why don't we get into the humans here? And we've got two rounds of humans so far in the show. So first we get our first the Southlands humans. This was the group of humans that went with Sauron, or not Sauron, begins with an M. Whatever the Morgoth, who aligned with Morgoth initially, and basically once he lost, they lost, and so they're dirty, they're hateful, they're basically waiting for a savior, a king to return and bring them back to glory. They're I don't want to get too into the politics of it. They don't want to deal with the sins of their ancestors, all of those things. So it's an interesting group of people that are being watched over by some elves because of the past, which also kind of plays into it as we go. Now, as Keith mentioned, there's Tyro. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, guy. Tyro Muhafidin, who plays Theo, which is the son of Bronwyn, who is played by Nazanin. Oh fuck, Banyadi. Okay, sorry. And these two are doing a great job. I'm loving this storyline. I'm loving the little evil brat, but like he protects his mom. Like, but he's kind of evil. It's like The Good Son with Macaulay Culkin. I don't know if you remember that movie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I love that movie. Anyway, so and he gets this, and he finds the hilt of the sword that's definitely Sauron's sword, but it like grows when it gives it blood. Great stuff. Really interesting. The whole Southlands thing with the orcs coming through, or the goblins coming through. Lots of fun. What'd you guys think of this?
Yeah, that was probably one of my favorites arcs so far. Is the whole, because we're getting to see some action, right? Like, so the thing for me so far with the story, and like it's kind of been a little drawn out for me. Like, if you want to pull people in, I like the action parts of it, a lot. It's very well done, and the orcs look fucking fantastic. They look so good.
Don't they? They're terrifying.
Yeah, they look so good, right? And that whole thing. Question though, so I'm the woke elf. I'm gonna call him the woke elf because Twitter hates him. And the mom. He and the mom had a thing in the past. It seems to me, right?
I think his name is
Arondir.
Arondir.
Yeah.
Played by Ishmael Cruz Cordova.
Yeah, sounds right.
I think that's his name.
But Arondir. Yeah.
No, I think they've been wanting to have a thing, but they haven't passed the
like very flirtatious, right? Yeah.
The humans hate elves. The elves hate the humans. But these two love each other anyway.
I think
want each other anyway.
There was, I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of a different show, but it was one of the facts was that the elf is going to outlive the human by a lot, right? So that's one reason they don't hook up is because, or fall in love because of that, right?
Well, as what happened with Aragorn and Liv Tyler, I don't remember her name. The elves have the option of leaving and becoming more mortal. Like,
Okay.
Basically, they have the ability to age and die with them.
They
Oh,
have,
They have
okay.
that option.
give them.
The one, remember when he goes back to the tower and his buddy tells him, "Hey, this has happened before and it's never turned out good."
Right. That's the scene I'm talking about where the other guy was telling him, yeah, you'll outlive her and whatever, right? So okay. But yeah, I like this part of it so far for sure. More than when we get to the other humans you're about to talk about.
Right. Keith, what do you have to say about the Southlands?
I just like the story of it. Like, I feel like they're going to be the first ones to encounter that wave of orcs or whatever. So like I'm interested to see how that turns out and like if any relationship with the elves becomes better because of it. Like because it's now I feel like that's going to be the beginning of Showtime.
Mm-hmm.
Like the orcs and their intentions are going to be made known there. That's going to be the first front.
Yeah, we kind of saw that at the end of the one episode. They let the elf go so that he could warn them.
Yeah.
I don't know why they would do that, but yeah, it looks like it'll be interesting whether they let the kid use this blade to win or what. Like, I want to know where they're going with that so bad. It's probably, you're right, Mike. That was probably the most interesting, one of the more interesting story arcs. All right, talk about the other land of the human, and that's these island folk. These are the rich humans.
Right.
They sided with the elves in the war, and they came out of it with their own island, with their own tree, extended life, the whole shebang.
Mm-hmm.
But they're still isolated, xenophobic. They don't want elves taking their jobs.
Yes.
There's literally a chant about elves not taking their jobs.
So can we throw the southern humans on a bus and ship them off to in front of that one dude's house?
Like I don't know how more active, like someone chanting no one's taking our jobs. I don't know how more
right.
like political you can get. But you're right in the sense that these weren't as interesting, but I thought there's definitely something there. As Galadriel is trying to get them to help her build an army. She sees that they're rich. She sees shit's going down, and she's like, "Hey, you got to help me here." Now, some great work by Cynthia Ade Robinson playing the Queen Regent Muriel.
Mm-hmm.
Some great work by her. What did you guys think of the island racists?
They're very diverse.
Yeah, like I was saying, I like the southern one more because it's. I mean,
They're very diverse.
Yes.
We only have 4 episodes to work off, so I imagine there's something coming. The build-up is getting there. It's just, we haven't seen it yet. So that's all I got to say about it.
Yeah, they came in late. Apparently, the one kid, man, all these names are fucking the same. I don't know if it's Isidore or Elendril or one of them. Apparently, his future.
White guys don't get to say stuff like that. All these names. You're gonna have to figure it out.
Tolkien really, really like aired too much on the vowels. Like, calm down on the vowels, my guy. Like, 1 vowel per name, maybe 2.
Yeah,
but 3 and 4 and 5.
He got a lot of the inspiration came from Iceland, right? And it's heavy on the
vowels.
It's very similar.
Very vowel heavy.
So anyway, the one kid, the kid on the ship who fails the ship, who doesn't want to be in the ship, apparently he's the human who doesn't toss the ring into the fire. So remember in the beginning of the Lord of the Rings, when they win, they cut his finger off,
Yeah.
and then the human picks up the ring,
It goes away with it.
and they're like, and Elrond's like, toss it in the pit,
Right.
and I believe that's supposed to be this kid right here, who fails his shipmate test, and doesn't
Okay.
want to be on the ship.
It's
Yeah,
supposed to be
yeah.
him.
That's supposed to be that character.
Ah, interesting.
Kill him.
Okay.
So just an interesting note about where it's going, though it does. But so far I'm trying to like work out what's going on. Now we didn't talk about Charlie Vickers as Halbrand, which is the Southland guy who might be the king of the Southland, or maybe Sauron, or maybe none of the above. That picked up Galadriel on the ocean and is
Yeah.
now walking around with her, and ends up kicking the shit out of the guys in the back alley
Right.
in the island. What do you think of this guy so far? This character, this mystery character. I think he's fun. I think he's fun to watch. It's a good mystery for me.
I've not figured.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No argument there. He's got. Go ahead,
No,
Keith.
go ahead. Go ahead. Finish.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's he's got that air of mystery behind him that's gonna make it interesting to watch, right? So
Yeah, I just haven't figured him out.
Well, this is where it's interesting. Where if he is, let's say he's Sauron, the
Mm.
fact that he's convincing Galadriel to basically make him an army. He's twisting her search and her goodwill and her fire to do everything he wanted to do. And so that goes back, if that's true, to the king of the elves saying her trying to put this out will actually make it worse.
Mm,
And that shit come into pass, I think would be awesome to watch with how
right.
much she's going. Now it might be bullshit. Maybe she's building an army to fight Sauron, but I think it's awesome that it could go either way. Keith,
Right.
what are
I
you
think
thinking about this?
I lean towards her building an army to fight Sauron. That's what I lean towards. But I also feel like there's quality writing and stuff involved in this, and there's no book to really say that like, oh, like this is not coming from a book. So I'm thinking that even though I feel like she's building the army to fight Sauron, that there still could be a twist coming in that department. So, I mean, I know Galadriel is going to be fighting against Sauron, like against those armies, her and Elrond.
Right.
But I just don't know if the efforts that's going on right now is directly leading towards that, or there might be some shenanigans at play with that.
All right. Let's talk about the dwarves. We haven't had a ton of dwarves, but I think what we've had is pretty interesting. Another isolated group, but what I'm loving is seeing them at their height, going into the mountain. Their full regal, boastful ways, but like all of them at once. I'm loving the family. What's her name? Sophia Namvedi as Princess Diza is wonderful to watch on screen. I think she's got such a big personality coming out of the screen. It's great. And she comes off of Prince Durin, who's played by Owain Arthur. I think he was the same. Is he the same guy who played in The Hobbit?
I gotta go back and look. I gotta go back.
Yeah, no idea.
I can't say.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think of the dwarves and the dwarven city and what's going on? I know we haven't had a lot, but I think we've had some small, fun, but interesting scenes.
Well, that whole dwarven community, if you recall, that whole dwarven community is the one that in Lord of the Rings was all dead and taken over by the Balrog and those goblins.
Mm-hmm.
That was That
Okay.
place where they are right now becomes a graveyard.
Mhm.
In the next
Wow.
200 years.
It's so interesting. So we've seen the height and we've
So we
seen the
might
depth.
see
It's really,
actually
really
when
cool.
they get run out, because it was because of that Balrog, the monster, the demon from the depths, and what you call it. Because they mined too deeply, and they woke him up and released him, and that he destroyed their whole thing. So killed him.
Doesn't Diza at one point say something about asking the mountain where not to dig or something to that effect?
It's a method that they. It's a method that
they
use. She's a rock singer. She sings to the rock. She's a rock star. But the singing, the song she was talking about, it's like the rocks sing back or whatever. But I'm assuming it's like, the sound actually gets reverberated off the rock, and they could tell if it's hollow here, if it's whatever there. But like what she said was, it lets you know where to dig, if to dig, or if not to, or if to leave it alone altogether.
Interesting foreshadowing. But I know this is supposed to be eventually like 5 seasons, so we could definitely. I think that I would love to see that on screen.
Everything is set up for you though. The mithril.
Right.
That his father closing down. His father doesn't want to dig. His father the king doesn't want to allow them to go further and dig for that stuff. He already feels like there's going to be something wrong with it. There's going to be something wrong with that endeavor. That's why Durin is so mad at him, like, because he's pissed off because we found this new alloy, like we need to go ahead and get it. Like, it's stronger than metal, it's lighter than X, Y, and Z. Like, we can actually. But his father has trepidations about it, and it's because I think his father knows that there are things down there or powers down there that they don't know about, or that has been spoken about to him when he was a kid, or some. But he knows something. Even closing down that tunnel, closing down that now, not letting any. And Durin's super mad, but like, I honestly feel like the father right now is actually trying to create this failsafe. And in one of these seasons, if it's going to be 5 seasons, I'm sure Durin is going to let them start digging to dig out this mithril. They're going to start digging, and that's where they're going to release. Because he even told the elf, because when Elrond asked him, like, okay, like, why aren't you digging this? He's like, oh no, it's very hard to get to. Very hard to dig. So I think all these things are setting up that occurrence. They're gonna dig too far and release something.
So good.
And it's gonna be to their whole destruction.
Yeah. Dude, that's so good. I can't wait for I don't want them to be destroyed, but man, I can't wait to see that on screen.
I just want to see the Balrog again.
Yeah.
Right.
Visually, that whole place is gorgeous too. Like another beautiful set in this world, and I like the dwarves. The look of them too. They've got great costumes and some great characters there. The wife is awesome. she's pretty awesome. And
you're staying for dinner,
right?
No, he's not.
And
he's staying for dinner.
So. and I like that the way they're building this world for the non-experts can come in, and like I'm saying, my only complaint, it seems to be a little more drawn out than I'd like, but it's good that you can come in and learn who's who and what's what as you go. So I can appreciate that. So.
Yeah, I definitely don't feel lost.
Right.
And the whole usage of the map idea, where they basically pull out to the point where you're like, okay, we were here, now we're going over here. and we're going, and we zoom in, and this is what these people look like. This is who they are. This is what their society is. This is how they act. This is how they treat each other. And then we go back out. We go back down again. It's nice world building, even if it takes some time. I don't mind the time it's taking
Right.
for that reason.
Yeah.
I will say, Prince Durin has my favorite spoken scene of this entire show, and that was when he was reading Elrond the riot act for missing his wedding and his kid's birth and the whole shebang.
Right.
Dude, that was so emotional and so like this great long lost friendship, and also pointed out how different. And I always considered like the dwarves to have long lives and extended whatever,
Yeah.
but compared to the elves, it just shows you how different those two are from each other, even within that fantasy extended life setting. And that the time means so much to the dwarves, as the elves it almost means nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's so much in that speech, that setting. It was so good. It was probably my favorite moment of the show.
Yeah. We should
All
take
right.
a quick break.
There's only one last thing I was going to do.
Oh, okay.
And then we're done.
All right, perfect.
We're just down to the orcs.
Okay.
So of course orcs are creepy, evil bottom dwellers, slowly, methodically taking over human towns. And there's only one name of note, and that's Adar, who shows up in the last episode. Really interesting character. I had never heard of him before. Had never known there would be this kind of character within there. He's obviously some kind of an elf or something, because he's got a pointy ear.
Yeah, he looked like a hybrid something. Yeah.
Right. But as you pointed out, Mike, the costumes and the look overall of the orcs is amazing. I love the bone helmets and masks and drapes and stuff. I love digging under the dirt and the shade.
Yeah.
And I love how just cackly evil they are. Everything about them is great.
Yeah.
Love the orcs as this underground bed, creeping evil. This slow, methodical, creeping evil. What did you guys think of that? Anything about Adar that I don't know about?
You know what? I have no knowledge of that character at all. So I honestly think like he is like definitely a new entrance into the world, and he's probably more so a plot vehicle than anything else. Like, how does the bigger war get started, or this, that, and the other? But like, I have not. He rings no bells to me at all.
Yeah. It's interesting to introduce such what appears that will be a big character in this show. So we'll see where it goes. But
I think he was a necessary plot device, because like, and he has to be a kind of a bigger figure, because I think like what he's going to be the catalyst for is probably more along the lines towards that bigger war.
Yeah, because you need someone that you can give the intelligent planning stuff for the bad guys too. That's not just
possibly kill. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he may get killed off. So like they needed to create either a powerful enough plot device, for a bigger plot piece, or he may be Sauron.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. Let's play. Is it Sauron?
I guess we'll find out, right?
We will find out. Maybe the king of the dwarves is Sauron.
Yeah.
And I know we weren't talking about the other near Rings of Power type show, but like I feel like this like as a product, although I enjoy that other one as well, dude, this is the benchmark.
See, I'm the other way. I'm on the opposite end. So I love the show too, but I think right now House of the Dragon is doing it more for me. Because it's got more more intrigue and more, huh?
It's more action on.
What was that?
It's more action.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. But I'm not going to compare. I don't really want to compare until both seasons are done, and then once we get to the end of the seasons, then I can say which one was better. Right?
Fair.
So,
Yeah, I guess my thoughts really come down to this one. The things about like House of the Dragon and that stuff is it feels like all the characters are in one way or another a piece of shit. And whether it's because of the world they live in, they have to be, it's how they survive. I get that. But something about a high fantasy where I have people that feel they're just stickly sweet good, and it's okay that they live in this world. And yeah, they're gonna have to deal with living in the world, and they're gonna have to work for it. But it's okay that there's people like that in the world, and that it feels, I like having that bit of hope, that bit of light and gleam within the dirt and stuff. And I think this show is giving me that range.
So I'm gonna rebut you there a little bit. Not specifically your point.
The dragons are good, damn it. The dragons are good.
I agree with you that so far it's pretty much my one problem with House of Dragons is that comparing to Game of Thrones, in Game of Thrones we had good characters that we rooted for. And so far I haven't seen one character here I'm rooting for. Like we had Arya, we had Tyrion Lannister, we had characters that you were pulling for and you wanted them to succeed. And Jon Snow, I haven't seen this yet in the other shows.
Those characters,
so I see I know where you're going with that.
Those characters were identified early.
Right, exactly.
Like I was,
so
had me from the first show, from the first episode.
Right. Yeah, and let's bring it back to this one. So there are characters I'm rooting for, but I'm still like kind of on the fence because I still don't know whether or not it's not as clear as it was in like season 1 of Game of Thrones. You knew who was good and bad. So that's kind of a good thing and a bad thing. You got that mystery, but you still don't know who you're rooting for quite yet, right? So
yeah, I think with this, I like the dirtying of someone's, like Galadriel. She's definitely doing something for the right reasons, but that might turn out bad. I like that idea. I like the fact that whatever she's doing might end up cascading into the world being taken over by Sauron. That's an interesting twist on a character that is headstrong. What I'm doing is right, and nobody can tell me any different. So it's an interesting pull on a character like that. This is like my favorite show on TV right now. I can't wait to watch it when it comes out. I am enjoying House of Dragon. I'm surprised. I didn't think I would. I didn't think I'd get there, but I do like it. I'm pulling for the girl who became the queen, not by her own volition. I really
for real.
like
some about her,
like that,
some about the
actress.
casting, some about the actual actress that plays that role is like weirds me out a little bit. Like
the older one or the younger one? I haven't watched the.
Like it just weirds me out a little bit. I don't know.
All right. Well, I think that's where we're gonna end this before we get too far in the House of Dragons. That's right, a whole second show. I want to thank you guys for joining me. I've been dying to talk about this show. I love it so much.
Yeah.
And it's okay that elves are black. But can we just say that out loud, please?
Harumph, harumph. How dare
because
you?
they're elves and they're imaginary creatures. Damn it, we got to be racist in our imagination as well.
Don't get me started on that mermaid.
That's right.
How dare you?
Yo, man. Chris, you got to get your people, man.
I'm gonna start a ranch, and we're gonna call it the Southlands, and we're gonna we're gonna put some black elves in a tower to watch over them. That's the only way
Maybe
to keep
some
them in line.
de-education tech camps or something. I don't know what's going on.
We got to get onto Twitch. I think all this shit is happening for these teens in Twitch. Now I'm saying that now I'm sounding real old. I'm sounding real fucking old there. Oh my god.
Alrighty.
Yeah, Mike. Where can people find us to comment about elven races?
So, if you want to complain about Black Elves, you can find us all over the internet at Hero Speak, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that bell in the corner to get notifications, and leave a comment below. And tell us why this show is too woke.
All right. Thanks for joining me, guys. I love talking about it with you, and we'll talk to everybody. I'll see you next week, hopefully.
See ya.
If James decides to show.
Hey, Indigo made the beat.